Welcome to Intro to Watercolor with Janet Van Eerden. Today we're going to look at a little greens tutorial that I did a long time ago, and I'm just revisiting it because it was a really fun project. So I'm going to switch to my video document camera. So now that you can see my workspace, this is one of the versions. Let me try to get it straight for you that I have finished already. And I got a lot of great feedback on this. This was down at the gallery at one point framed, and I needed the frame for something else, so I took it out. But I also did a version of this with some rhodey buds, and I've started a new one that I decided I would share the process on here. And you can see in this underpainting that I've started, I have some different greens mixed up. Some of them, they were made with ultramarine blue and cadmium yellow. And so the ones that you see with more bluish tint had more blue, and then there were some of them that have a little bit more yellow. And I was just wanted to paint something, and I started this. So I hopped on here because this would be a fun project for somebody who's just wanting to investigate some color mixing with blue and green. I'm sorry, blue and yellow to make a green, and layering. One of the things that's highlighted in this project is, excuse me, cool colors make things recede in a picture. So we often, in my classes, I often talk about tucking some blue or some purple somewhere that we want to push back. And you can see the play between the warm and the cool colors in this picture. So as you can see in this piece, the blues that are painted on the receding leaves push those leaves back into the picture. And the places where I have the yellow, the warmer colors, they bring those forward. So that is really, really handy information to use when you're painting a picture. And a funny thing happened when I continued from this point to bring back the picture I was working on. The recording did not take. So we just saved you a lot of time, and I'm going to tell you what happened here. I used my ultramarine blue and my cadmium yellow, and I would bring some cadmium yellow over into the corner and mix up some some green with that. Now, depending on how much blue or how much green, I would get a deeper green or a lighter green. And then I would appropriately put that either as a yellow on the top or a green blue toward the back, so that I could let those cool colors push. That is a lot of pigment on there, and I can go pick some of that up, but I'm just deepening the values a little bit to show you the process that I used while this was not being recorded. I have a lot to learn about tech, but I am learning and I will get there. So I still think there's value in showing you here what I have. And so I laid down that I guess the underpainting, the first glaze, and kept building up from there. And I'm going to soften that line right there a little bit. I just don't want it to be so harsh. Blending, whenever you have a harsh line, blending is super easy to do with a damp brush just to soften any hard lines. Okay, so you can see when I was building up my colors and putting blues in some of the shaded areas to show the shade, push it back. Um, I did some of them on the bottom half versus the top half to show the little fold in the leaf, which gives it some form and dimension. And here I'm seeing a little harsh line that I just left. I want to blend that out a little bit. I just have a damp brush and I'm going over it to soften that harsh line a little bit. I want the line down the middle, but it doesn't have to be quite so harsh. Okay, so the after I built up the leaves, and let me say another thing. When I was working on this, um, we talked about a lot of things, but um, anywhere that you, on a picture like this, we want each of the leaves to stay put. So when I'm working on this leaf, I am going to let it dry completely before I work on any adjacent leaves, because if I don't, any wet areas that I paint wet up against, I'm going to bleed pigment right out of there, and I don't want that on this piece. This is a little bit more of a controlled piece. I do love, though, how it almost looks like an abstract. I've painted a lot of the same similar size shapes, and we've connected it with branches. But when you're going through this painting and you're just painting individual leaves, you do have to pay attention to what direction your light is coming from so that your warms and your cools make sense, and your cools are getting pushed back into the painting. And I see one now that I want to put a little bit more blue shade on. Leaf like here. This leaf in the back, I'm going to push that back a little bit. So I have a darker, bluer shade, and I'm going to pick some of that up. But I want to push some of that behind a little bit. I'm picking up some of that, and I can bring it down here and use it. That's a pretty blue shade. Put some down here, just carrying it around. These slight tonal differences make a nice difference. And I'm going to just spread that out a little bit. That whole leaf is behind, so we'll get it a little bit pushed back there. This one too could be pushed back a little bit. It's way in the back. I talked also about how sometimes I tape down my piece, but on a piece like this where I'm turning it all the time, if I were going to tape it down, I would have to tape it down on a board because of the way I want to spin it. This one is going in the back, so I can put a little bit of my cooler mix on there. And you get the idea. This one is underneath too, so I can bump that up a little bit, blend that line out. I have a little bit of paper showing behind there, so I can take care of any of these little details with my brush now that this is getting closer to being done. On the stems, when you move to the stems, I do like to work with the very transparent shade first. So the stems are made from a mixture of burnt sienna, which is off my camera right there. It's like a brown rusty color. And I'm using the same blue, the ultramarine, although I use it from a different palette, to make to soften that brown a little bit. And if I keep using blue, I can get kind of a gray color. So you mix the kind of brown that you like, and you can see on these first layer of that stem is put in with a transparent color. And what I did there was I don't necessarily want a straight line. So I painted it in little sections like that where you put it in and you drag around because there's a lot of texture on these stems. I didn't want it to just be a straight looking kind of not very interesting stem. So I painted, the first layer was pretty transparent, and I painted it in little sections to show kind of some knobs on there. I also painted the little stems on the leaves in my brown. And you can see in here, I've added, if I put a little bit more blue in my mixture there, I can get a real nice gray, and I can change up the value and the warmth. It's going from a brown to more of a gray. And we talk often about how the three different values, a dark value, a deeper value, and some mid-tone values and lighter values really make a piece very interesting. So that's what we're doing right here is we're adding some of those, a variety of your values. And it just makes a nice little, it makes the piece interesting and gives it some, what does it give it? Some structure, some form. We're And if you don't care for them all, if they look too spotty to you, then go ahead and blend some of them out. I kind of like the way that they draw the eye here and there. I don't mind the look because there often are like little spots of darker values on your leaves and stems. But this is part of the artistic license, right? You get to pick what you like and do it that way. So if you have rhododendron in your yard or just a picture of them, you can use that as a little reference. I have them, I grew up with them all over the place, so this is probably not botanically correct, but I've shown a similar picture to this to people and they guessed right away what it was. If you want to put little buds or nodules on the going off, that can add a little bit to the realism of it as well. So I am sorry that you missed all of the in between, but the basics of this are very, very simple. You're using a very, very limited palette, your burnt sienna and your ultramarine to make your stem colors, and your cadmium yellow and your ultramarine to mix a nice variety of greens. And largely this exercise is about watching how cool colors make things recede and warmer colors bring things forward. And that's a really handy thing to know in not only a piece like this, but also landscapes and other things that you do. It's really fun to watch the cool colors push things back. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope that if you like this, that you'll do it, you'll try it, and I would love for you to share your results in the group. So thanks for being here and happy painting.